The smell of pancakes filled the kitchen that morning. Mom was humming, flipping them like she didn't have a care in the world. I was sitting at the table with my acceptance letter to Ridgeway University still open beside my plate. I had been saving that moment, showing her my letter, to see pride in her eyes. Instead, she said, "Nora, I need to talk to you about your college fund." My stomach tightened. Dad had left that fund for me before he passed away. It was my dream ticket. Mom avoided my eyes. "I had to use it," she said softly. I blinked. "Use it? For what?" She sighed, setting the pan down. "Your brother's wedding. Tyler and Chloe needed help. You'll have time to figure things out later." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. But she didn't laugh back. My hands trembled as I picked up the letter again. "That was my future," I whispered. Mom crossed her arms. "Tyler's wedding is family. Don't be selfish." I didn't even taste the pancakes after that. My dreams had been cooked away right there in that kitchen. I went to Tyler's room that afternoon. Boxes of designer suits lined his bed, and he was talking loudly on the phone, bragging about his grand wedding. "Did you know Mom used my college fund for you?" I asked. He turned, half smiling. "Yeah. She mentioned it. Relax, Nora. You'll get another chance." "Another chance?" My voice shook. "You think scholarships fall from trees?" He shrugged, fixing his tie. "Look, Chloe's family is rich. It's a good match. This is bigger than college." I stared at him, speechless. My brother, the same one who never studied, who barely passed high school, was getting my future wrapped in gold. When Mom walked in, she said, "Nora, stop causing drama. You'll thank me later when Tyler's marriage opens doors for the family." That night, I sat on my bed, staring at my vision board. Ridgeway Architecture Class of 2025 was written in bold. I tore it down, not out of anger, but out of cold realization. I had lost everything I'd worked for, and no one in that house cared. The next morning, I packed a small bag. Mom barely looked up from her tea. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To find another way," I said. She frowned. "Don't be dramatic. Stay here and help with the wedding. You can study next year." I didn't answer. I just walked out. The air outside felt heavy, like even the wind knew I had nowhere to go. I spent that night at Aunt Lena's. She was Dad's sister, gentle, honest, and the only person who ever believed in me. When I told her everything, her face went pale. "She did what?" I nodded. Aunt Lena sighed. "Your father trusted her with that money for you. Not for a party." She poured me tea and said, "You stay here until you figure things out. You're stronger than you think." That night, I lay awake, thinking of Dad's voice. "Nora, don't let anyone decide your worth." By morning, I knew what to do. I found a small design studio downtown that needed an assistant. It wasn't much, but it was something. The boss, Mrs. Harding, looked me up and down. "You don't have a degree?" "Not yet," I admitted. "But I can learn fast." She smiled slightly. "We'll see." Those first months were hard. I cleaned, carried boxes, fetched coffee, but I also watched. Every layout, every draft, every blueprint, I studied them like they were gold. I'd work late into the night after everyone left, tracing the designs and teaching myself. When my paycheck came, I almost cried. It was small, but it was mine. Mom called one evening, her voice sharp. "You're wasting time, Nora. You could have been planning Tyler's honeymoon with us." I said nothing. When she hung up, I looked at my reflection in the window. My eyes were tired, but there was something new behind them, determination. If they wouldn't fund my education, I'd build my own path. 6 months later, Mrs. Harding called me into her office. "Nora, I've been watching you," she said. "You've got an eye for detail." I'm enrolling you in our online training program. I blinked, stunned. You mean, like a scholarship? She nodded. Yes. Consider it an investment. That night, I cried quietly in my small apartment. For the first time in months, someone believed in me again. I studied every night after work, my fingers aching from typing and sketching. Slowly, I started helping on real projects. My designs were getting noticed. Mom still called sometimes, always to brag about Tyler's life with Chloe, the parties, the cars, the perfect marriage. I just smiled and listened. But deep down, I knew something they didn't. I was building something they could never buy. When my first project got approved under my name, I whispered, "This one's for you, Dad." A full year passed before I heard from Mom again. Her call came one afternoon while I was reviewing floor plans. "Nora, are you still doing that assistant thing?" she asked. "I'm a junior designer now," I said. She laughed lightly. "That's cute. Anyway, Tyler and Chloe just bought a new house. We're throwing them a party next weekend. You should come." Her voice carried that same old tone, polite but condescending. I almost said no, but a part of me wanted her to see I wasn't the same girl who'd walked out with one suitcase. At the party, everything sparkled: marble floors, tall chandeliers, laughter. Tyler greeted me with a grin. "Hey, Nora. You made it." Chloe looked me up and down. "You look simple," she said sweetly. I smiled. "I came straight from work." She didn't know that the work she mocked was the reason I was finally standing tall again. When I left that night, I promised myself the next time they saw me, they'd have to look up to find me. Mrs. Harding eventually retired and offered me something I never expected: partnership. "You've earned this," she said. "You have vision, Nora. The company's future is yours." The day I signed those papers, I felt something shift inside me. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing success, I was living it. I moved into a bright apartment downtown and bought Dad's old drafting tools back from storage. Every click of the pen against paper felt like closing a wound. Meanwhile, Mom kept calling, though not to ask how I was doing. "Tyler's thinking about starting a business," she'd say. "Maybe you can help him with ideas?" I'd smile and reply, "He's smart, Mom. I'm sure he'll figure it out." But I knew the truth: Tyler had never worked a day in his life. Late at night, I'd catch myself wondering if they'd ever see me for who I'd become. Then I'd shake my head. I wasn't building this for them. I was building it for myself. 2 years later, my company, Nora Designs, had its name on buildings across the city. Clients trusted me, my team respected me. I was sitting in a meeting when an email came in: "Request for proposal, Chloe Estates Limited." My breath caught. Chloe's father's real estate firm. The company wanted me to design their new luxury development. I smiled. Life really had a strange sense of humor. At the first meeting, Mr. Walker, Chloe's father, shook my hand warmly. "I've heard good things about you, Nora. Your work speaks for itself." Chloe walked in halfway through the presentation. Her smile froze when she saw me standing at the front of the room. "You're the designer?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes. I look forward to working with your family." For a second, she looked like she wanted to protest, but her father clapped and said, "She's perfect for the job." That night, I laughed quietly in my office. The universe had just handed me poetic justice on a silver platter. Working with Chloe's family was both satisfying and awkward. She avoided me at every turn, pretending I was invisible. But her father respected my work so much that my company's name grew even faster. One afternoon, while inspecting the construction site, Mr. Walker said, "You remind me of my daughter, focused, confident. You should come to their anniversary gala next month." I hesitated, but something about the way he smiled made me curious. "I'll think about it," I said. A week later, I received a formal invitation: gold seal, elegant handwriting. The gala was being hosted by Tyler and Chloe to celebrate 5 years of marriage. I couldn't help but laugh. Mom had once said their wedding would open doors for the family. It had, but not in the way she imagined. That night, I opened my closet and stared at my old work clothes. Then I called my designer friend. "I need a dress," I said. "Something unforgettable. If they wanted to see what I'd become, I'd make sure they remembered it for the rest of their lives." The night of the gala arrived like a scene from a dream. Flashing cameras, music, people dressed in diamonds and velvet. I arrived late, intentionally. As I stepped out of the black car, heads turned. My gown shimmered under the lights, a deep emerald silk that caught every flash. I felt powerful, calm, and beautifully free. Inside, Mom was chatting with guests, her laughter loud and familiar. When she saw me, her smile faltered. "Nora," she whispered, as if she'd seen a ghost. I kissed her cheek. "Hi, Mom." Tyler's face went pale. "Wow, you look different." I smiled. Success tends to look different. Chloe's eyes darted toward the stage, where a massive screen displayed the event sponsors. The logo glowed in gold, designed by Nora Designs. Gasps rippled through the room. Mom's hand trembled against her glass. "That's your company?" I nodded softly. "Yes. It's been a busy few years." Then I turned toward the crowd, smiling for the cameras, because finally, I was the story worth celebrating. The night felt like slow, delicious revenge. Every corner I turned, I caught whispers, people wondering how I'd gone from Sandra's quiet daughter to the woman whose company designed the entire event. Mom avoided my eyes most of the night. When she finally walked up, her smile was tight. "You should have told me," she said softly. I tilted my head. Would it have made a difference? She hesitated. "You know, I just wanted what was best for the family." "For Tyler, you mean," I replied. "You never once asked what was best for me." Before she could answer, Chloe approached, her expression a mix of pride and panic. "So, you're that Nora," she said. "The same one whose college fund bought your wedding flowers," I replied lightly. Her lips parted, but no words came. When I excused myself, I didn't feel guilt, just peace. The girl who once cried over stolen dreams had finally taken them back. That night, as I drove home, I thought of Dad. I hoped he could see me now, standing tall among people who once pitied me. And I smiled, because I knew the story wasn't over yet. The morning after the gala, my phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters wanted interviews, clients wanted meetings, and my company's inbox overflowed with praise. By noon, Mom called again. "Nora, dear, I've been thinking," she began sweetly. "You should come over for dinner tonight. Tyler and Chloe will be here too. We can celebrate your success as a family." It sounded rehearsed. Still, I went. Maybe part of me wanted to see if anything had really changed. When I arrived, the house looked smaller than I remembered. Mom had laid out her best dishes, but the tension was thick. Tyler tried to joke. "Guess you've made it big, huh? Maybe you can give your big brother some tips." "Work hard," I said, taking a sip of water. "It helps." Chloe fidgeted beside him. Mom forced a laugh. When dinner ended, she followed me to the porch. "You know, your success reflects well on the family. People will think I raised you right." I smiled faintly. "You didn't raise me, Mom. Life did." Then I walked away, leaving her speechless under the porch light. Weeks passed, and business was booming. But something inside me felt unsettled. Revenge, I realized, felt good. But it didn't heal everything. Aunt Lena called one evening. "I saw the gala photos," she said proudly. "You were glowing, sweetheart." "Thanks, Auntie. It was something." She paused. "You've done what your father dreamed of. But don't let pride harden your heart. You don't have to forgive, but you do have to live." Her words stuck with me. That weekend, I visited Dad's grave for the first time in years. I laid a white rose beside his headstone. "You told me never to let anyone decide my worth," I whispered. "I finally understand what that means." The wind rustled gently, as if answering. On my way back, I passed Mom's house. The lights were off, and the windows looked lonely. For the first time, I saw her not as the villain, but as a woman who'd lost her way. I didn't stop. But I didn't hate her anymore either. One rainy morning, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Tyler. His voice was shaky. "Nora, can we talk?" I hesitated. "About what?" "It's Mom," he said quietly. "She's not doing well. Chloe left, and Mom's been distant. She keeps asking for you." I didn't answer right away. Later that day, I found myself driving to the old house. The air smelled like rain and nostalgia. Mom sat in the living room, pale and tired, clutching a photo of Dad. She looked up, eyes filling with tears. "Nora," she whispered. I was wrong. For a long moment, I just stood there. Then I sat beside her. She reached for my hand. "I thought I was protecting you. But I only pushed you away." For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just sadness. "I became who I am because you didn't believe in me," I said softly. "So maybe, in a strange way, I should thank you." Her tears fell silently. Mine didn't. Mom started visiting me at my studio after that. She'd sit quietly, watching as my team worked. One afternoon, she said, "Your father would have been proud." "I hope so," I replied. Tyler came too sometimes, humbler than before. His marriage was officially over, and he was learning to start from scratch. One evening, as we closed up the office, he said, "You know, you proved us all wrong." I smiled. Maybe it's not about proving anyone wrong. Maybe it's just about becoming who we're meant to be. That night, I sat by my window, looking at the city lights. My journey had started with pain and betrayal, but it ended with strength and peace. Mom and I would never be the same, but we were learning. And deep down, I knew Dad was smiling somewhere, proud of the woman who built her future out of broken dreams. Months later, I was invited to speak at a women's empowerment conference. The theme was rising from what tried to break you. I almost said no. Public speaking wasn't my thing, but something told me to accept. When I walked on stage, the lights were blinding. But as I began to tell my story, the betrayal, the lost college fund, the wedding, I saw heads nodding, eyes glistening. Afterward, a young woman approached me. "My mom always told me I'd never be anything," she said. "Hearing you made me believe I can." Her words hit me harder than applause ever could. That night, I called Aunt Lena. "Maybe all this pain had a purpose," I told her. "It always does," she said softly. "You just had to live long enough to see it." For the first time in years, I felt truly free, not from my family, but from the bitterness I carried. The past didn't define me anymore. I did. One Saturday morning, I opened my inbox to find a message from Chloe. I hadn't heard from her since the gala. "Hi Nora," it began. "I owe you an apology. I didn't know the truth about the college fund until later. Tyler told me everything. You didn't deserve that." Attached was a photo of her volunteering at a women's shelter. She said she'd started giving back, inspired by my speech. I sat back, stunned. Maybe people really could change. Later that week, Mom called. "Tyler's starting over," she said. "He's been working at a tech firm. No handouts this time." "That's good," I said quietly. Then she added, "He wants to see you." I hesitated, but agreed. When Tyler arrived at my studio, he looked different, less polished, more human. "I know I was awful," he said. "I'm sorry." For once, I believed him. After that day, things began to shift between us. Tyler started helping out at my company part-time, learning the ropes from the ground up. One afternoon, we were reviewing designs when he said, I used to think success meant cars and suits. You made me see it's about purpose. I smiled. Took you long enough. He chuckled. Yeah, well, I didn't have a Nora to guide me before. Hearing that melted something inside me. Later, Mom stopped by with cookies, her way of saying she cared without using words. She watched us work and said, I never imagined you two would end up like this. Neither did we, I admitted. When they left that evening, I sat in the quiet studio, staring at the sketches on my desk. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Every scar had turned into strength. Every betrayal into direction. And that was more valuable than any college fund. That summer, I decided to expand the business to other cities. We held an open house event to recruit new talent. To my surprise, Mom volunteered to help with the refreshments. During the event, I overheard her talking to one of the interns. My daughter built this from nothing, she said proudly. She taught me what strength looks like. I froze. For years, I'd waited to hear words like that from her. Later that night, when the guests had gone, she approached me. I know I can't erase the past, she said. But maybe I can start making new memories with you. I nodded. One step at a time, Mom. She smiled softly. One step at a time. We hugged, not out of duty, but from genuine care. It felt like closing a painful chapter, not by forgetting it, but by rewriting its ending. A few months later, I stood at another wedding. But this time it wasn't Tyler's. It was mine. As I walked down the aisle, I saw Aunt Lena beaming, Tyler holding back tears, and Mom wiping her eyes proudly. I had found love, not in someone who completed me, but in someone who saw me fully. When the officiant said, "Who gives this woman away?" Mom whispered, "Her past does. And she's never getting it back." Everyone laughed softly, but I understood her meaning. During the reception, Mom pulled me aside. "I'm so proud of the woman you became, Nora," she said. I hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of the woman you're becoming, too." That night, as I danced under the lights, I realized I'd finally healed. Life had come full circle, proof that sometimes, the best revenge isn't payback. It's peace. After the wedding, life slowed into something peaceful and golden. I'd wake up beside someone who believed in me, go to work at a studio I built with my own hands, and come home to laughter instead of tension. One evening, I stopped by Mom's house for dinner. She had cooked my favorite meal, roasted chicken and mashed potatoes, just like when Dad was alive. She said, "I used to think success was about reputation. But watching you, it's about resilience." I smiled. "And maybe forgiveness too." She nodded, tears glimmering. "You taught me both." As we cleared the table, I looked around the home that once held so much hurt. It felt lighter now, like we'd finally aired out all the ghosts. Before I left, she hugged me longer than usual. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she whispered. And for the first time, I whispered back, "Thank you for finally seeing me." Months later, I launched a scholarship fund in Dad's name, to support girls whose dreams were pushed aside for someone else's. We called it the Second Chance Grant. At the opening ceremony, I shared my story publicly for the first time. The room was silent as I described how losing my college fund became the spark that built my future. Afterward, Mom approached the podium. "If you ever doubt yourself," she told the audience, "look at my daughter." She turned betrayal into legacy. The applause that followed wasn't just for me, it was for every woman who'd been told no and still found a way to say yes to herself. That night, as I looked at the scholarship sign on the wall, I whispered, "We did it, Dad." And for the first time, I felt that the little girl who once cried in her bedroom was finally at peace. Tyler helped run the scholarship with me. Watching him handle the finances with care, I realized how much he'd changed. One afternoon, he said, "I used to think you got lucky. Now I know you worked harder than any of us ever did." I laughed. "Guess we both grew up, huh?" He nodded. Thanks for giving me a chance to be better. Sometimes, I still caught Mom staring at us from across the room, smiling softly. Maybe she was remembering the years she'd nearly torn us apart, and marveling at how life stitched us back together. After the event, we sat outside as the sun dipped low. You really built something beautiful, Nora, Mom said. I didn't do it alone, I replied. And for once, it felt true. As time passed, I began mentoring young designers. Many came from broken homes or rough starts, just like me. One girl named Ava reminded me of myself at 18, quiet but burning with potential. You think I can really make it? She asked one evening after class. I smiled. Not only can you make it, you will. And when you do, promise me something. She tilted her head. What's that? Don't let anyone make you feel small. Ever. Her eyes glistened. I promise. That night, as I locked up the studio, I realized how far I'd come. Once, I'd been the girl begging for a chance. Now, I was the one giving them. And it hit me that maybe this, helping others rise, was the real success story all along. Years later, Mom passed quietly in her sleep. When I went through her things, I found a small box labeled for Nora. Inside was my old acceptance letter from college, the one she'd hidden years ago, and a note in her handwriting. I was wrong to take your future from you. But you built one greater than I ever imagined. You taught me that love isn't control, it's belief. I'm proud of you. Always. Tears fell freely as I held that note. At her funeral, I didn't speak about the past. I spoke about change, forgiveness, and finding light in broken places. Afterward, I stood by her grave and whispered, I forgive you, Mom. And I hope you finally forgive yourself. The wind was soft that day, gentle, almost warm. As I walked away, I knew this chapter of my life was ending, but my story, the one built from ashes and courage, was only just beginning.